Right everybody, just before we get into this video, and I'll explain what we're doing in a bit, I just got to give a big shout out to everybody. Now, please comment below how many subscribers I have when you watch this video, because as I'm making this video, this is the day I turned 10,000 subscribers on my channel that only started in January. I started this journey, let's call it a journey. It's been a very, very hard journey. I started my journey on YouTube back in January of 2021, and now I am actually at 10,000 subscribers. So I've only just been over 3 years and I've got 10,000. And looking back, I've gained about 5,000 subscribers in the last 12 months. So I am quite, chuffed. But please comment below. When you watch it, whenever you're watching this video, please tell me how many subscribers you are seeing when you watch this video, now or in the future. And a big shout out goes to the people that are pressing that super thanks button and sending me a little bit of money, and also the people that are buying me a coffee. It all helps towards what I'm doing with the channel. Stuff like I've now bought lapel mics, which are the Sarah Monica, I think that's how you pronounce it. Brilliant bit of kit. It hopefully is helping with the sound quality of the videos. But thank you to those people, it's much appreciated. And don't forget, I'm still paying a subscription for my video editing software. So any little bit of money that you send is helping towards pay for that. But no, thank you very much everybody. 10,000 subscribers, I'm blown away. Thank you very much. Morning everybody, thank you for tuning in. This video today, a lot of people have asked, I show you how to do things and sometimes I don't do always what you ask. Now, some people have asked, how do you paint a room? Now, I thought this is a great opportunity while I'm working at home. You've probably seen the previous videos where I am there, where I've actually painted my wall, let's spin you around, kitchen units, in this Stifsky blue. Can you see all the way around? And I've protected them up because we're coming to paint a room. So instead of me teaching grandmother how to suck eggs and actually showing you the process of actually painting something with a roller on the wall or a brush, I talk you through, for the people that don't really understand the sequence of work that we need to be doing. Now, I've painted all the kitchen units and I've done that first. Now, what we're going to be doing is, because this video is all about Farrow and Ball paints, I am going to be doing the correct process with Farrow and Ball. Now, I've done this room previously, and it was actually, I've probably said in previous videos, it was 2019. It was actually, I look back on my memories on Facebook and it was 2018. It was around about the August time. Now, I'd previously done all this room in Tikkurila. Now, Tikkurila Optiva 5, lovely paint. It's got a 5% sheen level, very durable, very wipeable. It's I'll say a slight matte finish with only a bit of a sheen. Don't get confused with vinyl silks or soft sheens or anything like that. It has a little bit of a sheen, but it's wipeable. And I sprayed all this room. I did the ceiling, I did the walls, I did all the woodworking. It was sprayed. That was years ago. So on this video, because we're doing Farrow and Ball paints, I'm going to do the correct procedure. And people are going to ask, what paints do you use where? Well, on the ceiling, I'm going to go for the estate emulsion, which is virtually a flat finish, like just ordinary matte emulsion. On the walls, you can see all the way round, I'm going to go for a modern emulsion, which is 7% sheen level. So a slight increase on the 5% that's on the Tikkurila Optiva 5, but I like Farrow and Ball's modern emulsion. I like the modern eggshell as well, which I've done on the kitchen units. You can see kitchen units there. So what we're going to be doing is going through the correct procedure on doing this room. I'm going to be brush and rolling it. The woodwork will be also brush and rolled. I've done the brush and rolling on the kitchen cabinets and there'll be no spraying on this because I want to show people that you can actually get a professional finish. I'm a professional because it says on my top, says on the telly there. I'm a professional painter and decorator. So if you haven't got any spray equipment, if you've got spray equipment, you already know how to do painting, because it is the next level for actually decorating, to be able to use a sprayer correctly, safely and correctly. So this is just brush and roll, just ordinary painting. You're going to say, what kit am I using? I've got brushes. I've got, thank you very much, Arrowworthy. I've got some samples when I was at Brewers, ages ago. Some sample brushes to try out, which I already like this one, which is the classic. I've also got a Rembrandt. Never tried a Rembrandt before. This is a little bit more of a coarser bristle, whereas that's softer, but I'll have a play with them while I'm going round. Rollers. A big shout out to my local rep for Serit, whatever, Rota. He popped to see me last week, just a social chat, bring me some samples of bits and pieces. He's dropped me some more of these off. Now, I've had these before. You can get them from Brewers. I think Paintwell sell them in other good reputable decorating outlets. But out of all the roller sleeves that I now use or have used, this is my, and I hate the word go-to, this is my roller sleeve that I love. The medium pile's good for flat walls. Longer pile, if you've got a bit of a texture, if you've got a wallpaper that's a blown vinyl or something, bit of a wood chip, or you just want to bang a lot of paint on in one go, the long pile is really good. They do wear eventually, and you'll probably say a long pile can go down to a medium pile, but I find these are really good. They wash out fantastically. They hold nice amount of paint, and I get a lovely finish. As long as your paint's not too thick, and you've got it just at the right nice consistency, you don't get heavy orange peel with these, even with the long pile. So check those out. That's a Rota Gold. Both of them, one's long pile, one's a medium pile. So that's that. What else do I want to just tell you what I've done in here? I've clearly taped up the lights ready. I've gone around with the sheet bagging, which I've got a 3M hand masker with the drop and tape all in one. The other thing I've done, I don't know what you can see, I've taped up the floor with the prep board. Really good stuff. This is something else that the rep, Mitch, brought to me to say, Phil, try it out, please. I have done. This is the stuff, if you're using floor protection, this is slightly thinner than what you've probably been used to before. But I have to say, it's still got that, if you spill water on it, you spill paint, it's still got that protection. And being that little bit thinner, do you know what? It was so much easier to roll out and cut. Some of the other stuff that's thicker, which is probably really ideal for if you've got a delicate, i.e. wooden floor to protect, probably go for a thicker one. But this is still ample. It's still plenty thick enough for me. Don't know what gram it is, but don't worry about that. It's gone on really nice. Trying to be a bit more sustainable. I'm trying to use less plastic sheet bagging as well, sometimes it's inevitable, I've got to use it, but on a floor, if I can get away with using this, I do. Clearly sheets, which I've got some sheets over the units here, I'll use sheets also as much as I possibly can, but on a hard floor, if I can put something down like this, it's ideal. It also has got that, you know, sometimes you get paper curling up like wallpaper. This has got that property to it that it doesn't curl up. Again, it's still your protection for, I'm just reading it, it's a medium, I'll read what it says on it's medium duty, spill protection, it's breathable, so if you have got underfloor heating, it still does exude the heat through it, that's fine. And it's recyclable, and it's recycled material, and it's flexible and easy to use. And I have to say, I've used it here and very impressed. So that's a good one. Just to show you what a hand masker looks like. It's got the tape on it, it's got the drop sheet. I use the premium masking film, I don't know whether you can see it advertised there. That is a really nice one to use, just with a medium low tack tape, nothing too sticky. I don't want to pull anything off. Right, what am I going to do now? Right, I'm going to talk you through it. I've got the paints. Now, should I have a bit of a moan about the tins of Farrow and Ball? Right. Tins of Farrow and Ball. Every tin of Farrow and Ball's got the same coloured label on it. Right, so as a quick glance as a decorator, it's easy to get mixed up. Now this is a white and light tones wood primer and undercoat. This is what I'm going to be undercoating my woodwork with. But I've also picked up this one, right, which is a mid-tones wall and ceiling primer and undercoat. Now, to the quick glance of the eye, that looks the same sort of label tin. I know it's a different colour on the back because I know which one's which, but if you're looking at them, let's get this one. White and light tones, wall and ceiling primer undercoat. White and light tones, wood primer and undercoat. How confusing is that to an amateur DIYer and even a professional when all the tins seem to look exactly the same? I've said for a long while, different products of Farrow and Ball ought to have a different coloured label so you don't get them mixed up. If it's an estate eggshell, that should be a different coloured label to the modern eggshell and the flat mats. If it's an undercoat, they should be different coloured labels. If it's a wall and ceiling primer, that should be a different coloured label. Just a little thing. It's the little things that count. But I'm going to be doing this correctly. Now, the ceiling, I'm doing it in ammonite. Now, I've got the tin there, ammonite. I've got 5 litres of estate emulsion. Because the ceiling colour is a slightly different colour to what we're putting on, I am going for the white and light tones wall and ceiling primer. Now, some people are going to say, you don't need to be using that. I know, but I want to do it correctly. I want to blank out and get rid of this greenish sagey colour, and I don't want to waste expensive top coat paint. So I am using the wall and ceiling primer for the ceiling first, and then I can put the ammonite over the top, and hopefully that will go for 2 coats over this, because the light tones wall and ceiling primer is the correct undercoat colour for ammonite. And I know that because I've also got ammonite for the woodwork in modern eggshell, and the light tones, oh, it's confusing. The light tones undercoat is the colour which is just an off-white for the actual undercoat stroke primer for your woodwork as well. So it's 3 coats. It's going to be primer, undercoat, then 2 top coat finishes. And hopefully it'll be better than what my Stifsky blue was, which if you've watched that video where I was saying the grey, which is your dark tones undercoat, really needs to be a blue for the Stifsky blue, because I had to put an extra coat of Stifsky blue modern eggshell over the top because it hadn't covered very well using the rollers and brushing it over that grey. So that's that. So without further ado, Pew, Barnum, McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibble and Grub, I'm going to crack on. I'm not going to show you how to be rolling. What I'll do, I'll get it all painted and then come back and just show you how it's gone on and what it looks like. But I have got some areas that here where I've touched in where there's been filler. I've had some special, it's the Isomat 2-in-1 primer just to spot prime those areas. Now, because the wall colour is lamproom grey, so I've got lamproom grey, ammonite, and I've got the blue on the kitchen units. Because the wall colour is lamproom grey, that's not far off the wall colour that I've got now. And ironically, look at the colour of the mid-tones, and this is the mid-tones. This would be the primer, wall ceiling primer undercoat for lamp room grey. Now that isn't far off. It's a little bit deeper. It's not far off what I've already got on the walls. So I'm not going to be going around priming the walls out with this. I will be going around the areas that I've primed out with 2-in-1 primer, the Isomat, which was the white. I'm going to be priming any white areas with that. Now I've got them, if you can just see, around the top of the splashbacks, all the way around there. Anywhere that I've spot primed with the white, I'm going to be spot priming with this. And the last thing I just want to say before I start cracking on, I have just gone over, I did this job previously, so it's all tip top. I've just gone over the ceiling and I've just gone over the walls just with a light, this is my very worn sandpaper on a pole, and literally I've just gone over and nibbed out all the surfaces just in case there was anything stuck on there from previously. It wasn't a bad condition ceiling or walls, but I'm going to do that to the rest of the walls there. I've got a little bit of filler where I've just done some fine surface filling. That fine surface filler, if you want to know, was Brewer's own brand, and it's the interior exterior white ready mix filler. It's very fine surface just for skimming out the areas. Give it an hour or so before it's dried, just with a fine piece of sandpaper. You can just nib it down and just get it off any fatty edges of your filler. Just lightly sand it down. Again, spot prime that up as well. You want to know about this? This is made by a very well-known brand of filler manufacturer. I can't say who it is, but rest assured, even though it says Brewers on it, which is a known brand, it's still a good quality filler. And on that note, I'm going to crack on now. I'm going to go over the ceiling. I'm going to go round the coving with the light tones wall and ceiling primer, let that dry off. So while that's drying, what I'm going to be doing is prepping my woodwork. I've not got a lot of woodwork to prep. I've got 2 doors and a little bit of skirting and a couple of frames. So the process of doing your room, get your ceiling out the way. While you're waiting for stuff to dry, drop onto your woodwork, get them nicely sanded down and dusted down, ready for painting a little bit later on. Because what I'm going to be doing is trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. While the ceiling's being done, I will start bringing forward the woodwork. Yeah, and shock horror, I will be going onto the wall slightly, because when I come back tomorrow, hopefully I've got all my woodwork coated up. I will be taping up the edges to get a sharp, clean, crisp edge. And I will be, fingers crossed, just putting 2 coats of the modern emulsion on the walls and I'll be done. But if not, if it's a case that I've still got a final coat on the woodwork to do, I will do it and then leave it till the day after. We'll see how it goes. Just play it by ear. But a traditional way of painting a room would be do your ceiling, do your walls, do your woodwork, jobs are good and done. But because I want to try and get things done in the day a little bit quicker, I will start bringing forward the woodwork while the ceiling's having their coats of paint. Well, one ceiling. While the ceiling's having its coat of paint and it's drying off. So yeah, I'll see you in a little while once ceiling's got a coat of the wall ceiling primer, and also I'll have rubbed and nibbed down the woodwork, which is in good condition. It only needs a Merca Gold Flex pad over it. And if you want to know about those, they're in the Amazon storefront shop that I've got a link to in the description below. So catch you in a bit. Right everybody, I'm back now. That ceiling's now had the primer coat, the wall and ceiling primer in the light tones. It's virtually white, which is good because I've now got, oh, show it on the brush. I've got ammonite out now. I've just bedded the brush in. You can see it's quite a palish grey colour. I think we'll be all right going over the white. Now, that's been a good few hours since I actually did that. Now, in between, what I did, I went round, I don't know where you can see in the corner, I went and spot primed all the areas that I'd touched in with a spot primer of the 2-in-1 Isomat primer. Now, I've spot primed again with the Farrow and Ball mid-tones wall and ceiling primer, and God, can you just look at that? Anybody think I'd picked that colour previously when I painted it out in Optiva 5? Because that colour is, like what I said, is very much similar, hence why I'm not doing all these walls in that mid-tones, because the mid-tones is very much what this colour is anyway. So I'm going to crack on again. I like to say cracking on, it's a bit of a catchphrase. I'm cracking on. I'm going to get a coat on the ceiling. I've got a blower heater. I've got the doors open. I'll circulate the air around. Hopefully that should dry off in the next, once I've done it, in the next couple of hours. And back end of this afternoon, I might be able to get a 3rd coat on, i.e. 1 primer's on and 2 top coats. And that is the system. Once I've got a coat on this, I'll be dropping onto the woodwork to give that a rub down, and if I've got time I might even give that a coat of the undercoat, which is the light tones as well, because the woodwork is going to be finished in modern eggshell. The ceiling is in, yeah, you've been listening, it's in estate emulsion, so we'll have a contrast of finishes. Right, see you in a little while. Right, you know how I like to just dib-dab into the video and give nuggets of information. Now, that is the first coat, and you can see it's still wet. First coat of the estate emulsion that's gone over that primer. Now, it's gone on a dream. I will literally say it's a dream. I know some people say, why do you need the primer? Do you know when you go over a cheap emulsion, you can suddenly get air bubbles forming on the surface? Now, if you use the primer, that evens out that surface that could be a little bit suspect to give you a sound base to work on with your subsequent coats. This is the subsequent coat going over the primer, and you know what, it's gone on really nicely. I have dropped onto the longer pile of the Rotor Gold, just mainly to get a little bit more on. Now, I have to say this ceiling that we've got, it's not been plastered brilliantly, and I can feel the trowel marks. You know how it waves, and depending on which way I roll it, whether I go that way or that way, can affect how the paint is being applied. Now, once you get into it, you know that you need to go horizontal and a little bit that way and get it on, and I have done, but it has gone on really nice. Now, the other thing I'm going to say to you is the tin's there. I mixed it up. It felt thick in the tin. That emulsion felt thick in the tin. But you know what? I know what Farrow and Ball's like. Sometimes it can be a little bit deceptive, and it can apply actually really nice. So I haven't thinned it. I've actually added nothing to it, and it's straight out the tin. It's brushed a dream. I'm going to say it's brushed a dream. It's rolled really nice as well. Some people might say they always like, well, I sometimes see it on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. Some people like to put at least 5% water into every paint that they use. Now, for me, you've got to, try it and see. Sometimes you don't need it. Depending on what you're going over, means that paint can apply a lot easier. And if you suddenly start adding water to your consistency of paint, if you add 5%, take a tin of paint being 100% of whatever goes into it, and you add 5% more water, you have actually thinned down the consistency of that paint. Yes, it will apply a lot easier, but your pigments and everything else have all also been diluted, and you can lose that opacity and coverage that you would get if you hadn't thinned it. And I agree, sometimes you do need to thin a paint because it goes on a little bit round, and that means it goes on a little bit thick, a little bit stiff. It makes it hard work, and sometimes, yes, you do need to thin it. But on this, I've tried it and it didn't need thinning. It's actually gone on lovely, and I think half of the battle of that is because I've actually gone over the ceiling and wall ceiling primer of Farrow and Ball in the light tone. It's actually virtually covered for one. I think once it's dry, you'd probably say, does it need another? And it will have another. But I know I was going over Optiva 5 previously, which has got a bit more of a sheen to it, and that makes it not so much of a dry substrate. The porosity won't be there like some of the cheaper contract matte emulsions. But adding your primer to your ceiling or your wall to give you a better surface to work on does help. It's not like putting a cheap emulsion on just to obliterate the colour that was underneath it. And that's what I've used it for, to really blank out the colouring that was there before. It has something in it that helps you apply your paints over the top. So don't try and skimp and go, I tell you what, instead of using the light tones Farrow and Ball paint, I'll just get some cheap contract matte emulsion and blank it out. You'll reap the rewards from that. Trust me mother. Because that's when you'll have your problems where your better quality paint, i.e. this Farrow and Ball, going over it can start forming little air bubbles on the surface. So I've told you, use the primers. I'll catch you on the next segment. Right, it's been a good few hours since I spoke to you last, and true to my word, that ceiling had one coat of the finish and state emulsion, and what I did in between that drying, I've actually rubbed down all the woodwork. Can you see? I've done the doors and I've done the skirting down below. You can see it around there in the light tones wood primer, you know, the primer undercoat. Now I'm going to sign off for today. My last job to do is I'm going to get a final coat on this ceiling so it's dry for tomorrow, and then I will talk to you tomorrow and discuss what we're doing. So yeah, all good so far. Really impressed how that ceiling's dried. Now, those that are a bit unsure about what finish to go on a ceiling, the reason I'm going for a flat finish, i.e. the estate emulsion, is a proper like matte finish. It's not the flat matte, it's the matte finish. It's less critical, it doesn't show any imperfections, whereas the stuff that's got a slight sheen to it, if you were looking at vinyl silks and soft sheens, and even, dare I say it, the modern emulsion can be a little bit critical over your surfaces, but This really bad sealing. The coving, which is proper plaster coving, is a little bit, well, it's handmade and cast. It's not the smoothest of materials to paint. So if you have got a flatter paint, it does benefit on critical areas like that. So yeah, leave me to it. I'm gonna get finished off tonight, and I'd say it's probably had about 3 hours since the last coated it up, so we should be good to go. I've had the heater on and the doors are on. I've had the doors on. The heater's been on and the door's been open, so it has actually dried quite quickly. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.